So I know it's been a while since I did my last vlog, and it's mid-spring, and honestly, with weddings and senior pictures and headshots and commercial photography and all that stuff, editorial, it's been really busy. So, like many of you, you're probably pretty stressed out right now. I know I am, especially those of you with kids or at least a spouse or something. Summer's right around the corner, and honestly, I can't wait for it. And I think it has a lot to do with wanting to spend more time with my family. I miss them a lot. The kids are both in school during the daytime. My wife works during the day as well, so uh, kind of like a lot of you, you work by yourself. I know I do, and so sometimes it can get a little quiet. There's nobody else around except for you when it comes to editing or even answering emails or on the phone. Some of you guys may have help in the studio. I did a while back. It was great, but I also kind of fell into that routine where I kind of relied too much on help here in the studio. And so I feel like I wasn't as involved, and therefore, over time, I transitioned to just having a second shooter. But when it came to working in the office, I decided that it would be best if it was just me. That way, I was more engaged with clients. I was more hands-on with the projects that were going on in the studio. And as I mentioned before, I know it's really busy for a lot of you guys, especially wedding photographers or senior portrait photographers. I know that the workload can sometimes be overwhelming, and it tends to distract from home life, with spouse or a significant other, or, if you've got kids. And I also find that for the past several months or so, it's always like this whenever it gets really busy. I don't get a lot of sleep. I'd say on average during the week, I probably get about 3 hours of sleep because I'm just going so much during the daytime that it's really hard to leave that studio, that office, that business mindset at work and not carry all of that stress, carry all of those things that are on your mind back home with you when you're supposed to be focusing on being at home, relaxing, making dinner, watching Netflix, or watching watching people on YouTube. Sorry, I didn't mean us. I meant just everything in general. Anyways, I used to be really good about meditating in the mornings for about 20 minutes or so, and then again about mid-afternoon, and it was really, really helpful. I use a breathing technique called square breathing, and it's fairly simple. What I do is imagine a square in front of me. I just visualize a square, and I'll breathe in 4 heartbeats on one side, and then I'll hold my breath across the top of the square, and then on the other side of the square on my way down, I exhale for 4 heartbeats, and then I'll hold it again at the bottom edge of the square. The reason why I use my heartbeat as a timer is because I feel like when I get stressed out, when I'm working on the computer, when I have things on my mind, I don't breathe as much oxygen as I should, and I think a lot of you probably do the same thing, and so the breath gets a lot shorter, which obviously there's more oxygen going to your brain, less oxygen going to your brain. See, right now it's happening to me, And so you get what I refer to as little mini panic attacks. You start thinking about all the stuff you got to do. You start feeling maybe a little dizzy, but definitely more stressed out. So the reason why I say, use your heartbeat as a timer is because the more oxygen you get into your body, the easier it is for your heart to pump blood, and over time, while you do that several times, your heartbeat will slow down because it doesn't have to work as hard. Because when it has to work a lot, it causes that stress and anxiety moments. Anyway, I know that we're not here to talk about meditation. We're just, here to talk about the fact that, a lot of us are really busy right now, and I feel like we forget to take the time to recharge our internal batteries. And what I mean by that is, just reading something that has nothing to do with work. In the past couple of days, I started watching TED Talks, and I'll put a link in the description below. The reason why I watch those is it's kind of like listening to a podcast, but it's, I have the app on my Apple TV, so I can watch the speakers, and there's a whole variety of topics, and they're all extremely inspirational. They make you think, and it definitely gets your mind off of the things that are worrying you or weighing you down throughout the day. Of course, I recommend don't watch it before bed because you'll get so inspired that it makes it harder to fall asleep. So in the mornings, when I'm usually not stressed out because I got some sleep after about 3 hours or so, I'll watch one of these inspirational videos, and maybe one of them will have something that I can use, excuse me, something that I can use during the day, something that inspires me, makes me feel good about the day so that I can tackle all the things that I've got to do. So I highly recommend it if you don't have time to watch a TED Talk, or if you don't like watching people, there's audio version, or just listen to a podcast. There's a really good podcast called Photospark. You can look it up on iTunes or Spotify, and it's these 3-4 ladies that get together and do a podcast, and they just talk about all different kinds of stuff about shooting, lighting, business, everything that pertains to running a photography business. And they'll have guest speakers and stuff, and these ladies really know what they're talking about. So I would subscribe to it. I've listened to it a lot, and it gives me new ideas. However, I don't necessarily listen to it in the mornings because, sometimes I do, because maybe it'll give me a little bit of inspiration about what to do during my workday. But maybe during your lunch break or so, because if you do, I find that if I do it in the mornings, then it starts making me think about everything I've got to get done that day, and it kind of ruins my morning. So I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to get across, because, as usual, I tend to ramble. Everybody right now, I feel like, is dealing with stress, dealing with anxiety. For some of you, it may be so bad that you're wondering whether or not to continue being a photographer, or, being whatever it is that you do. I'm not always good at it, but I try to remind myself that whatever you're going through right now, it's not going to be that way forever. It is only temporary. And when I think of that, it gives me hope that I'll get through it, because this time last year I was experiencing just as much work. I was experiencing just as much stress, and I got through it. That passed over time. So why would that be any different this year? So I guess I'm just getting all of this out, sort of, as like writing a journal, but being a tech guy, it's much easier for me to just put it on video. Plus, I can always go back and watch it again to remind myself what I was experiencing at that time and what I was saying to you guys, so that if I inspire you or whatever, then maybe it'll help re-inspire me. And I think, like Eric Doggett said in one of his vlogs, maybe it was one of the first ones, The reason why he does it is because it helps hold him accountable. If he puts on video some goals that he's trying to strive for, then because he's saying it in front of an audience, he kind of has to follow through with it, or at least be in the process of trying to achieve that goal. And I guess I'm trying to do the same thing. For me right now, it's nothing specific that has to do with work. I think for me right now, what I need is to be able to focus more on really what's important. And for me, it's my family, it's my wife, it's my kids. Yesterday I realized that even though my kids aren't doing the same thing as maybe other kids are doing in school, and I know for you parents out there, sometimes we worry that maybe we're not doing the right thing, or that our kids need to be doing what the overachievers are doing. But my daughter is going into high school next year. My son will be starting first grade. And as much as they may drive me crazy, obviously they have those moments where they really make me feel lucky to have them. And as much as sometimes my wife and I may not see eye to eye, it's really helpful to remind myself that ever since she came into my life, I changed completely as a person, and I evolved over the years of our relationship, our marriage, and I feel like I'm a much better man because she's in my life. And when it comes to my kids they're never going to be like other people's kids, because other people's kids are raised by different parents. So in a way, it's kind of like I've got these two young reminders of this unique fingerprint that I've put on to other people's lives. And they're also growing and developing in their own. My kids have some of my traits, they have some of my wife's traits, but they also have aspects of their personalities that are completely unique to them. Sometimes I get distracted by all the things I've got to do at work that I don't always remind myself that my kids are the best investment I ever could have made, no matter how much they may drive me crazy, no matter how much they may take up time that I could be spending working. Over the years, I've learned that it's more important for me to set boundaries, to set parameters when it comes to my job, so that I can spend more quality time with my family, because that's when I get to recharge my spiritual batteries. If I keep running myself on, low or empty batteries, then I'm never really going to accomplish or get anything done that's actually an improvement or worthwhile. So I guess what I'm going to say to wrap this up, because I know, like I said, I tend to ramble, I'm really going to make an effort to focus more on the things that recharge my energy, recharge who I am, recharge my personality, my spirit, because if I don't do those things, then I'm just going to be running on empty. I'm not going to be productive. I'm not going to be happy. I'm always going to be stressed out. I'm going to start thinking that things are hopeless, or that I'm doing all this and getting no results, things at work, that kind of thing. So if you guys are going through something similar, especially those of you that work alone and are stressed out and have projects on the table and you feel like you're not going to get any of them done, as I've said before, you're not the only one. I never want any of you to look at somebody else's job, somebody else's life, somebody else's business, and think that they've got everything together and you don't, because no one's ever going to tell you that they're having a hard time at work. No one's I mean, unless it's somebody that's really close to you and is going to be honest with you. But I call it the Facebook syndrome. 9 times out of 10, what you see on Facebook is people who only post the good things that are going on in their lives. Of course, there's always the exception that someone's going to get on there on their soapbox and argue about, how bad the political scene is right now, or whatever. But for the most part, when it comes to people's personal lives or their professional lives, they're only going to reveal the good stuff because they're insecure. They're too afraid to be honest, not only with themselves but with everyone else, about the hardships they may be going through right now. I feel like it's really important to talk to people and share with them that, whatever it is that's on your mind, especially when it comes to things that are weighing you down, because chances are you're going to hear back from the person that you're talking to telling you that they're going through the exact same thing, that their life isn't perfect. And for you, that tells you that that everyone else goes through it, that you're not the only one. So anyways, sorry, didn't mean to get so heavy or emotional or any of those things. I just felt like I needed to get that off my chest. If you guys are going through a hard time right now, or if you feel like you're alone, put something down in the comments below. I'm going to hold you accountable too, just like I'm holding myself accountable. Put something down that you're going through right now. Put something down that is something that helps you get through moments like this, because other people watching the video could use those techniques. Or if they hear about the problems that you're going through right now, they'll find out that they're not the only one that has problems, that everybody else, their lives aren't perfect. And I feel like the more we share stuff like that, the easier it'll get to go through it, because we're sharing the burden together instead of just us trying to handle it ourselves as an individual. So anyways, I hope you guys are having a good Wednesday. See, I just said Wednesday. That way I'm forced to get this video up today, maybe by this evening. So I think, yeah. So that's all I got to say. So I'm just going to wrap it up. So leave a comment down below. I would love to hear and talk with you guys about what you're going through, or advice that you've got to get through those stressful moments. I'll make sure to put the links down in the comments below or down in the description below, about the TED Talks and PhotoSpark and Eric Doggett's channel. So yeah, thanks for watching. And I'll make sure that it doesn't take this long to do another one of these. So we'll be seeing you guys soon.